As you know, for the last couple of weeks, we have been trying, at least making an honest attempt to show our solidarity with the barbaric murder of a young doctor who, tired after a long 36-hour shift, was just wanting to probably rest. We have today on our podcast somebody who I was extremely nervous about interviewing, probably the first time that Srimoy Kundu has actually felt butterflies in her stomach before sitting across an eminent guest on my show, Dr. Kunal Sarkar, warmly addressed by me as Kunalda. In fact, when I was telling a journalist friend of mine that you are on my show, she, jokingly said, and then she said, "Ami kintu joke korchi na. How did you get Dr. Kunal Sarkar for an hour?" It's impossible. So I consider it my good fortune. Kunalda, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Kunalda, প্রথমেই দেখো কালকে, when we are shooting the show, the Supreme Court has just said that, they need more time. Everybody was looking at the Supreme Court for some sort of direction, but it's still a bit of whataboutery going on. And there is a sense that justice is not getting delivered, despite the month-long protests, despite almost every profession থেকে লোকে being out on the streets, সারা রাত্রি পেইন্ট করছে, গান গাইছে, celebrities have come out, people like you. What do you think is missing in this whole thing? What are we missing, Kunalda?
Piyu, it's not with any kind of triumphalism at all. But if we are to summarize, I tried to capture in my mind what's happened yesterday. And a line came to my mind, which I have actually posted this morning, which is somebody has just poured a gallon of kerosene in the fire, thinking it was water. Right. If I'm tempted to add another line to it, the line will be again, with utmost respect and every last ounce of deference. The Supreme Court has definitely got their finger on the minutiae of the law, but they are totally out of connect with what is happening amongst the people, the angst in the society. So I think as far as they are probably ticking they are crossing the T's and dotting the I's as far as the law is concerned. But I would really request them that the entire matter, as far as the state, the city, the community, it is no longer a doctor's problem.
Absolutely.
It is a problem of the city, of the state, of its people. And I really think that, please don't, sort of pinch my ears for saying so. But your honorables, you've got to climb down from your high horses. You've got to hit the ground running and actually feel what's happening on the ground. And yesterday, probably in the annals of Supreme Court, it was one of the most facile same-side goals that Supreme Court has probably ever scored in their sort of 75 odd years of the history of the country.
Do you think somewhere, and you very correctly hit the nail on the head, Kunalda, as always, you're such an ace debater and social political commentator, somewhere আমরা এই ইস্যুটাকে এতখানি পলিটিসাইজ করে দিয়েছি, এতখানি মানে গোল মিলিয়েছি।
Let me put things into perspective. You leave food outside, fungus will grow. Politics in every society, not just India. If you analyze the last 5 social movements or issues in the world, very few of them have been de novo, been stimulated by original political thinking. They have not been.
They have not.
Right. The tragedy in India is that even Aam Aadmi is a political party. You cannot say this is a people's agenda anymore. But you think, you are yards, miles, light years younger to us. We've seen, we've walked the earth a little longer than you have. But in our lifetimes, have you ever seen a movement like this? No. Look at the political summary of where we are today as we speak. Trinamool is trying to get out of the problem. BJP is trying to get into the problem. Exactly. And all of us, I for one and many, many others, I think took an exception to the fact all that, a hyperbole that BJP came with, Oiki Dofa Act, Dabi Act, Mukhyamantri Padottyak, 28th of August, that kind of, cheap acrobatics was not necessary at all. And I really think that, like, given any political party, if they found a resonance among the people, they would have fanned on and on, but it was just cut short. We have come back to the basics of the question. I honestly think that, you see the doctors' protest, I tell you for once. The doctors' protest. The first body to react last night was the IMA. IMA Bengal. Tell me one thing, who's IMA Bengal? You look through the organogram of INA Bengal, 80 to 90%, if not 100% of the people whom you find in the organogram of INA Bengal are without exception people who are either present or in the recent past being affiliated with the TMC.
With the TMC, yeah.
The children who are sitting back out in protest all across, given the demography of the state, I think 40% or one time, or there is nothing wrong, if it is not like you subscribe to the Nazi party or something. So the question is, from the very beginning, this carbuncle has been growing and growing and growing, and something which I think organically many of the commentators, and I think, again, with due apologies, Supreme Court themselves are not just comprehending it. People are trying to look at it in a very isolated, cropped image. And that cropped image is a dastardly rape happens in Kolkata, detected early hours of 9th and August, full stop, and the procedures and the minutiae around it. But Kolkata, the state, the doctors and the people today unequivocally feel the point that this is syndromic. This is systemic of a carbuncle that has been growing the entire hierarchy for their convenience of existence. We refuse to look at it. Why? Some short time agenda was being fulfilled. Today Goebbels appears to be a monster to the present world. But think, from about 1935 to way until Hitler surrendering in 45, for 10 years nothing succeeds like success. Even he succeeded. So this network, today probably people are playing darts, putting Sandeep Ghosh's image on the wall. But did this chap not have a free run? For what? Good part of a decade? How many complaints? How many things? Today we have all these theories. This poor little girl could have come about something. She would have spilled the beans. Honestly speaking, this is like, this chap probably had more misdeeds in his portfolio that had he ever committed one decent deed in his life, God alone knows. So this is a perspective that we want people who are little bit interested in the issue, and I would believe Supreme Court is. So Supreme Court has to they have to come off their legal high horses, feel the pulse of the people, as I said in the beginning, that probably with the intention of cooling the fraying tempers, taking the tensions down. Their directive, I don't know whether you call it a verdict or a directive yesterday, has been a massive same-side goal.
Absolutely. And I feel that, somewhere we are still not talking enough about the lack of safety measures, CCTV cameras being there, security personnel stationed outside, say, toilets, separate toilets for male and female, or even the third gender, for example. Even having resting rooms, when my mother...
Let me tell you something even more basic. Basic. When Supreme Court took up this matter, suo moto, honestly, I still haven't understood the rationality of it. Why did they ever do this? If you know a good, clever lawyer, have a word with him. And if It's like getting out through a fire exit. So if the Supreme Court has any fire exits open and can hand this matter back to the Kolkata High Court, I think that will be an immediate honorable solution for them. Otherwise, I honestly don't have much social faith in which, in way, they seem to be suffering from a legally astute, a socially indifferent tunnel vision. They are not attuned, they haven't yet tuned themselves to what's happening in this state that houses 10% of India's population. Why do I call this? That we have our head stuck up in some high distant cloud somewhere. Supreme Court formed a national task force. Again, with folded hand, bent knees, due apologies, was not needed. Why was it not needed? Any working hospital in India, out of not very many, but a few decent things that has happened in India in the last decade or two, if you ought to have a hospital, is your infrastructure adequate, efficient, in place or not? We have something called over here a National Accreditation Agency. And that national accreditation system scores the hospital on more than 1,000 parameters. Okay? At the end of the day, you may not pass it, and that is it is not yet like our driving test, where how many people have ever gone for a driving test? They sit at home, somebody goes and pays a desired rate, your license is out. But this is genuine accreditation. So the system already exists in the country. I'm afraid and reasonably appalled that the Supreme Court wasn't aware of it. Okay, you tried to create a fire by rubbing two stones all over again, you create a task force, right? 11 members or 12 members. Where did this trouble happen? City of Kolkata, West Bengal. How many of these 11 members represent Kolkata? None at all. So on that first day of Supreme Court hearing, my lords, it was a bad time to patronize our people. Very bad time. The directive, look, in our kind of feudalistic system, even if two tea vendors quarrel on the road, and that goes on for 12 hours, what do we say? Mukhyamantri ke kotha bolte hobe. TMC flouts the party slogan, doesn't it? Actai post, Bakira lamp post. You have only fueled this culture. You had 5 directors quarreling with 5 technicians. It requires Mukhyamantri's intervention. In a matter like this, we have a deputy minister for health. The health department doesn't know who the deputy minister is. The deputy minister doesn't know where the health department is. She probably ornates her writing pad with that kind of a thing. So it is her, the buck stops with her, as Harry Truman used to say. So somebody should have told the chief minister, the Kapil Sibals of the world, and obviously my lords, that look, in this whole saga which is going on, not one meeting has happened between the junior doctors and the chief minister, or for that matter with the principal health secretary. I was part of a meeting where the junior doctors did not come. 6 or 7 health associations met with the chief secretary, and as expected, first 1 or 2 meetings will not yield a result. Tempers are frayed. People have there's a tremendous build-up of, grievances pent up over a period of time. Supreme Court should have directed that, look, in the next 3 days or 4 days, you two parties in question, junior doctors on one side and the chief minister being the head of the health hierarchy, please sit down and start your conversations. And we would expect that probably within a week's time or whatever, you would come to a working solution, and the end point is that the hospitals resume working to their full capacity.
Right.
That is what should have happened. Because the Supreme Court had a kind of a attitude that would do Charles Dickens proud from Oliver Twist.
Um, Kunalda, when you were summoned by the Kolkata police, the support and the sea of followers that accompanied you and Dr. Goswami, and we all expressed our complete I was angry. I'm not going to mince words. I was like, what's going on? আমাকে তো হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে ফার্স্ট দিনে people were sending pictures of the body mutilated, her face, legs at a 90-degree angle, tar naam, even TV channels who were interviewing her parents initially had their full faces.
Not only that,
Yeah.
you see, you call spade a spade, again, it may be due to stress. We are trying neither to ridicule nor to demonize anybody. Who was the first person who inadvertently blurted out the identity of the victim? The police commissioner.
police commissioner
himself.
Yeah.
Now, what was the background? Let me just, in a minute, I really do not claim any minor martyrdom from that incident. But the question, why did it happen? I have a small time YouTube channel, and I did one of the first videos, and not too many English language videos come out of this part of the world. And suddenly that video started bouncing off the wall everywhere, and probably for the discomfiture of our sort of watchdogs and people in the state, government, etc., it found a large audience internationally, nationally, whatever. I still haven't looked at it, how many people have seen it right now. Over there, the fundamental, obviously, we were all outraged. Half of the details were, I released it on 14th of August on the eve of the independence.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the key question on the eve of independence? The key question on the eve of independence was, in all this nationalistic hubris we have, great, it's brilliant to have that, important, it's like a tonic for otherwise flagellating spirits, but the question here is that whether it is a Kolkata today, a Rajasthan tomorrow, a Mumbai day after, whichever state in India, how come every state government finds it so easy to tinker the nuts and bolts of law? When will it dawn on us that we need to put up an impervious wall between the politicians run state administration and law and order? They will probably have some links at the top. So starting from the civic volunteer to the police commissioner, everybody is either a small nut or a small screw or a big screw in your system, which you can sit at your convenience and either tighten or loosen. And this is an increasing phenomenon. Highest possible literacy in Kerala, it happens.
It happens.
Wealthiest state in the country, Maharashtra, it happens. Bengal has made almost a picnic out of it.
Yeah.
We do it subconsciously. It's taken for granted. If you don't do it, people think the case is not important enough. That is what probably happened in RG Corp. It is not a good intention which matters. It is slyness. It is an internal competition to show how sly or devious you are. Each one of them is like Olympic sprint to show who is the slyest fox of the lot. It's like a forest gathering of foxes. If your ground law and order can be tweaked, turned, manipulated, each time a politician winks, is it good for the country? Now, I honestly, when I'll just tell you, somebody called me, asked that, you are spreading rumors. So I told them, I have a funny sense of humor. So I told them, look, I have discussed for 10 minutes the Indian Constitution. So if you're trying to tell me the Indian Constitution is a rumor, then I don't think you're doing the country a big favor. So what's your... And then, they said, let's come, we'll have a chat. So, this is like you have gone out for, hunting rabbits and you end up with tigers. I'm a two-penny person. I'm not greatly important at all. I said that, are you aware of what's happening in the medical community? Do you really want myself and Dr. Goswami to go there? That fellow, I don't know, out of indifference or ignorance or both, asked me, "Aa jaiye." And when they saw 15,000 people
Yeah,
had
they must
landed,
have been shocked.
they were, honestly, I was comforting them, checking their pulse rate and blood pressures. And
At
I've
the
asked,
police headquarters.
oh yes, I probably had 5 or 6 of them, either they themselves or their relatives have been operated by me.
Okay.
Some of them have missed their checkups. So they were almost pretending to get their checkups done while I
Okay.
spent an hour in Lal Bazar. I said, look, I'm not doing this today.
Hmm.
Probably I saw an ECG or two sitting in Lal Bazar as well.
But you described it as being, invited to a birthday party, because
No, you see,
they were cordial, they were
they
nice.
were very extremely polite, very respectful, and said, look, I said, I asked one of them, probably Vineet Goyal himself in good humor, that this is the most polite discussion. We don't even have as polite discussions as with hospital administrators. But I told them, what do you do when you have a wedding or birthday party at your homes? Do you send out invitation cards or summons? What do
Okay.
you, Pew, look at them outside their uniforms. Perfectly intelligent, capable, hard working
Meritorious people.
meritorious people. I think if we try to make a Cartoon Network out of them, it's very wrong. Whether, I've met there, I don't know how many, there were a room full of their hierarchies in the ascending order, descending order. Honestly, each one of them. I do not find that kind of merit even in a corporate organization today. But look what a waste of human equity that is.
আর বদনামি তো মানে all the slack is coming on them, the flack is coming on them, everything is now being poopered on them.
You are such a brave campaigner for women's rights. When every 5 minutes one of these photographs and videos were surfacing,
Right.
which police was on a very shaky wicket to defend, how could they were trying to defend the indefensible? What were they doing? Very sadly, they put that lady up as a last front, and that poor lady,
Last ditch attempt,
and that poor lady, I really felt sorry for her. How intimidated she was and after years and years, you look the deep digging, the youngsters, the boys and girls of the media, you have the youngsters of the junior doctors, and look at the quality of work done by, you see, what was reporting about so far, what was television channels so far, chitter chatter, 2 hours of whataboutery, some people, blurting abuses to one another, few advertorial breaks, program over. But especially the Bangla media, they have rediscovered themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are a couple of channels, you watch them currently, how unique. They have the goal today, Pew, they have the goal today. We will, at least in the advanced years of our lives, we would have seen something unique. They have the goal today to do prime time shows without any politician or any chitter chatter happening. So they are driving prime time with their content.
Kunalda, a comment that you made recently with respect to the junior doctors who've been relentlessly protesting was bringing up the Bengal Renaissance. As a student of history, I know the importance of the Bengal Renaissance in the socio-political sort of context of India. And you said that it started with Ram Mohan Roy and it ended with Tagore. And এই যে আমরা একটা নতুন প্রজন্ম দেখছি, as you're saying, this is almost like a renaissance. People from all walks of life, rickshawala, Ola cab driver, Swiggy, Zomato, globally যেটা মানে the fire has spread. What did you think was common between what we are seeing today and the Bengal Renaissance? Do you think we are witnessing a renaissance when everything seems to be falling apart?
Well, I'll risk telling a student of history a little story. It is believed that I think the time was 1813, 1814, that kind of a time. Can you imagine Kolkata, North Kolkata today? And it is believed that, I don't know what they used to sip those days, whether it was tea, coffee, or a little puff of the hookah. But between Ram Mohan Rai and David Hare, where do you see David Hare today? If you go for a walk around Hidua, see under a little shed a lonely David Hare standing over there, and few other people. Our Dwarkanath was involved, and intelligentsia of Kolkata. What were they talking about? They were talking about the fact that people like Ram Mohan, David Hare, Dwarkanath, they were feeling the need to resync the education and the intelligence level of, since it's more than 100, it's more than 50 years that we have been colonized, Polashi has happened, we were working as small-time laborers, odd job men for the colonial setup. But what was worrying these people is that, look, education, we have got to bring education. Enlightenment has happened in the West. Enlightenment has been followed by the Industrial Revolution. Where are we? They asked a simple question among themselves. And that started movements like your Hindu college, your medical college thereafter. So these were the very simple, fundamental diagnosis. So they diagnosed that we were still in the dark ages and something had to be done. You know how Ram Mohan Rai did not even become a part of the original sort of governing body of the Hindu college. Because David Hare did not.
David Hare didn't.
David Hare did not.
Yeah,
He stepped back because Ram Mohan said, look, if you get involved, so he gave every support. Similarly, so the stimulus from there was education. What has been the stimulus today, Pew? We've had our bags of bad times more than good times. We are a diminished economic power. We are a diasporic society. A great majority of our educated middle class are like bonded or unbonded global labor, contracted laborers world over, some intellectual, some physical. But those of us who are around in this world, facing up with life's challenges, what did we think? You live in a good middle class environment. You always thought people couldn't care less. We all have our political belief. You have a BJP next door, you have a Trinamool here, you may have a CPM somewhere else, and very satisfied with our OTTs, our Swiggies, our, day in and day out. We are either indifferent, largely selfish, unconcerned about the world outside, and whenever you had any particular issue or challenge, we were politically, you have 3 people and 4 parties. This is a trap from which ours, like ignorance was the trap, lack of education was
Back
a trap
then.
200 years back. Today's trap was a combination of being incorrigibly addicted to politics without seeing rhyme or reason. We were a selfish, divisive society in economic distress. These boys, 8 years I've spent in medical college.
Absolutely.
God knows how many general body meetings we had. You would hardly complete an hour of general body meeting, and then some common agenda would start a meeting, then it would splinter away into 5 groups, largely inconclusive. Now this is the culture shock. These boys and girls step up in a matter of 72 hours. It is a simple statement of sincerity and honesty. They said, we put our problems first. We put our grievances first as junior doctors. To hell with whether you are a rightist or a leftist or a nationalistic, a pro-Hindu and anti-Hindu. So look, this simple statement of sincerity, we couldn't do it, Pew. We could not do it. We could not do it. If we had a 5 minutes conversation, 3 minutes into the conversation, we would be like the ATM, Everything was automated. Everything was rehearsed. Everything was whataboutery. So I think this is a paradigm shift in our society, a change in outlook, a change in philosophy, and this was far more effective than even COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody realized. I don't know how much of it was inspiration and how much of it was shame. For me, it was both. I thought about myself, my colleagues, I think, and I said, how we have wasted our lives. Look at these youngsters. Thousands of them, when we go and talk to them in our conventions, probably there will be one this afternoon. They are all squat on the floor. They say, sir, when we were in a students' union election, we would probably have 3 or 4 parties. Not today, not now. So this is a very simple, fundamental statement. And this is something which I think, along with we are a society in mourning today. We are grieving for somebody. But along with that, through this grief, this simple lesson of life these chaps have given us, I think this will stay with us for some time.
আর এই যে একটা ন্যারেটিভ কুনালদা তৈরি করা হচ্ছে যে বিকজ অফ দি জুনিয়র ডক্টরস অন প্রোটেস্ট, ওপিডি বন্ধ থাকছে অনেক হসপিটালে, নার্সরা প্রোটেস্টে যাচ্ছে, টেকনিশিয়ানরা এক এক করে হসপিটালের এক একটা অঙ্গ মানে একটা বন্ধ অবস্থায় চলে যাচ্ছে. So, do you think that this is a state-built or state-backed narrative that patients are suffering because of the doctors on protest, which I personally know is not true because I had somebody admitted in RG Corps. I mean, not directly a relative, but a friend's relative, and they said that when বড় বড় ডাক্তাররা extra hours pull করছে, they are standing by like you, inspired, somewhat probably ashamed, and they are putting out their best foot forward. So এরকম একটা স্টেটমেন্ট যে উৎসবে ফেরত যান, now she is blaming the family of the victim, বলছে যে এটা তো মিথ্যে কথা, আমি কখনো 10 লাখ অফার করিনি, when she has actually been caught saying that on video in a political speech.
দেখো, whenever we are in any kind of trouble, we think that যে আমরাই হয়তো সব থেকে খারাপ সময়ের মধ্যে আছি. তো তুমি অনেক কিছু ফলো করো, তুমি জানো there is a poster you will see in some people's walls. তো ওখানে একটা পোস্টার আছে যেখানে বলে যে একটা অন্ধকার ঘরে একটি লোক বসে আছে, একটা টিমটিমে আলো জ্বলছে. So that is said, the last stage of urban decay. তো পোস্টারের তলায় লেখা থাকে যে when you leave the room, shut off the light. The last person to leave the room, shut off the light. তো অনেকের ভুল ধারণা আছে যে ওই পোস্টার বা ওই ইমেজারিটা এসেছিল from some city in Europe during destroyed by World War and etc. It did not. The last person to leave the room, shut off the light. The ultimate statement of urban depression. That statement came out of a city today which went through the pits, and that city is Seattle. And Seattle today is at the pinnacle of your sort of tech revolution. So these cycles happen in life. Okay. তোমার অবজারভেশন আমি প্রথম একটা কথা বলি যে মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায় is a product of mass movement. Mamata Bandyopadhyay is probably in the history of Indian contemporary current affairs, I do not know of any leader who served out a quarter of a century in oblivion and came back. As a single-handed woman who started a party de novo, right? So it doesn't take away from her biodata, from her achievements. But what is happening today is she is a stressed political leader who is not being given the ingredients by the support because she has to look at it from a social perspective and not a political lens. আজকে কলকাতার বা পশ্চিমবাংলার এই সমস্যাটাকে যদি আমরা পলিটিক্যাল লেন্স দিয়ে দেখি, দ্য মোর পলিটিক্যাল লেন্স উই উইল অ্যাপ্লাই, দ্য মোর এলিয়েনেটেড উই আর গোয়িং টু গেট, রাইট? এবার উনি কি প্রতিটা কথা সিলেবল বলেছেন, আই হ্যাভ নো উইশ টু অ্যানালাইজ দ্যাট, বাট আই থিঙ্ক ওনার মধ্যে যে বিল্ট আপ স্ট্রেস, যে অ্যাংজাইটি, হেল্পলেসনেস হচ্ছে, সেটা is coming out, and I really think it almost looks as if that surrounded by probably thousands of bureaucrats, advisors and people, she today seems to be standing alone. Functionally, intellectually, I think she is standing alone. Coming to the doctors and hospital equation, আমরা এটা ইগনোর করতে পারবো না। We cannot ignore the fact that junior doctors, even they make out, probably there are about 14,000 odd doctors in the government sector. West Bengal has about 100,000 doctors, of which they have around 6 to 7,000 junior doctors. They are a very important component of the horsepower. So it will be a complete oversimplification to say যে কিচ্ছু হচ্ছে না, প্যারালাইজড, ইমার্জেন্সি হচ্ছে না, একটা অপারেশন হচ্ছে না, not true. At the same time, the statement যে না junior doctor running, we are still working at 10 horsepowers, not true. Junior doctors not being in the system takes away the horsepower of the system. Emergencies are happening, seniors have put in a back-breaking effort. Probably they are operating at 30% of their efficiency. Emergency treatment না হওয়ার কোনো কারণ নেই. I don't want to get into that parallel conversation today. Government is facing another issue. Why? West Bengal had this scheme called Shastro Sathi, which at its very best, you could today use Shastro Sathi. If you are roadblocked into some government hospital, you could encash that scheme in different hospital. Now Shastro Sathi has got their own knickers in a twist. Karan Shastro Sathi, because of financial pressures, if they had 50 services they could give to people, they've probably cut out 40 and are now stuck with 10. So encashment of Shastro Sathi services across the West Bengal has one of the smallest healthcare private sectors in India. So that is becoming a real life issue. So the question is যে অমুকে অ্যাবসলিউটলি রাস্তার ধারে মরে যাচ্ছে, কোনো ট্রিটমেন্ট হচ্ছে না, some of the stories are also factually wrong, that is a gross exaggeration. No, you don't want to counter these things with insensitive statistics. In one day in India, 24 hours, 48,000 people die. So if you extrapolate that statistics for West Bengal, in any one day the daily average death rate, the death rate in West Bengal would be nearly 5,000 people. So I'm not trying to pull a bucket over Shastro Bhavan. Though honestly speaking, যে স্টেটের 5,000 is the daily death rate, সেখানে 23 deaths over a matter of 7 days is not statistically significant. But again, it is not a matter of they throwing one stat and we are reparting with another stat. We have to recognize the fact that it impedes healthcare. সবচেয়ে বেশি কাজে কে ফিরতে চায়? সবচেয়ে বেশি কাজে আগে ফিরতে চায় জুনিয়র ডাক্তাররা।
Absolutely.
আমার তোমার হেলথ বিউরোক্র্যাটস, যে কোনো মন্ত্রী, যে কোনো চিফ জাস্টিসের থেকে সবচেয়ে আগে তুমি তাকে কন্ডিশনগুলো যদি ক্রিয়েট করো, তুমি সকাল 10টায় ক্রিয়েট করলে 10:30টায় ছেলেমেয়েগুলো কাজে ফিরে যাবে। ওদের লাইফের তো দিস ইজ দ্য গোল্ডেন পিরিয়ড অফ এক্সপিরিয়েন্স অ্যান্ড ট্রেনিং অ্যান্ড এভরিথিং। They are the most intelligent academic output of our generation. ওরা জানে না কি হচ্ছে এখানে। তাহলে প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে যে উই ক্যানট ফ্লোট বিটুইন টু এক্সট্রিমস। এবার ঘটনাটা কি? ঘটনা হচ্ছে বারবার যে যারা আমরা আইদার ফ্রম আ লিটল আইসোলেটেড কিউবিকল অফ আ সুপ্রিম কোর্ট অর ওভার সিম্পলিফাইড রেস্ট্রিক্টেড পার্সপেক্টিভ অফ দ্য পলিটিক্যাল ব্যুরোক্রেসি টুডে, ওই তো রেপ, ইনভেস্টিগেশন সিবিআই করছে, এর কাছে চলে গেল, সিআইএসএফ এসে গেছে, খুব ভালো কথা। তাহলে কে বলেছিল গত 10 বছর ধরে, ফর 10 ইয়ার্স, কতগুলো দৈত্য দানবকে আমাদের হেলথ কেয়ার ব্যুরোক্রেসিতে লালন পালন করতে? আজকে লোকের ভালো লাগছে এই কথাগুলো শুনতে। অমুকের চেনাশুনো লোক, সে নর্থ বেঙ্গল লবি চালায়। আজকে আজকে সন্দীপ ঘোষ কে? সন্দীপ ঘোষ তো আমাদের ব্যাটিং অর্ডারের 4 নম্বর না 5 নম্বর ব্যাটসম্যান। তার আগে তেন্ডুলকার আছে, তার আগে সৌরভ গাঙ্গুলি আছে, তার আগে তো সব বড় বড় প্লেয়াররা তো তার মাথার ওপরে আছে। এবং এক একটা সন্দীপ ঘোষকে এক একটা ক্রিটিক্যাল জায়গায়। তোমরা তো এখনো পুরো, ইউ হ্যাভেন্ট হার্ড দ্য স্টোরিজ ইয়েট। আমাদের 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 এথিক্যাল রেগুলেশনের যে মেন বডি, মেডিকেল কাউন্সিল, কোনো দিন যদি মাটিতে কান দিয়ে মেডিকেল কাউন্সিলের গল্পগুলো শোনো, হ্যাঁ, একজন কেউ কমপ্লেন করলো, ডাক্তারের নামে কমপ্লেন করতেই পারো, আমরা সবাই ভুল করে, আমরাও করি, দ্যাট শুড বি ডিসকাসড, আ ডক্টর শুড বি ওপেনলি রেপ্রিম্যান্ডেড ইফ দ্য কেস ইজ জাস্টিফাইজ দ্যাট। কি দাঁড়িয়েছে এখন মেডিকেল কাউন্সিল? পুরো মেডিকেল কাউন্সিলের তোমার কমিটিটা তৈরি হয় কি, কারো বন্ধু বান্ধব, ছেলে মেয়ে, ঠাকুর চাকর বাকর, ওই সন্দীপ ঘোষ 1, সন্দীপ ঘোষ 2.0, সন্দীপ ঘোষ 3.0। নট অনলি দ্যাট, সারা শহরে তুমি ডাক্তারদের জিজ্ঞেস করো, ওই ও মেডিকেল কাউন্সিলে তোর একটা কেস উঠেছে, সন্ধ্যেবেলা একটা ফোন করে দিবি, একটা দরদাম ঠিক হলে হয়ে যাবে। এই যে আবার ফিরে আসছি এই ছেলে মেয়েদের কথাগুলো, যেটা আমি একটা জায়গায় বললাম, আমরা তো 50% অফ দিস প্রবলেম। এই যে একটা স্লেভারি, এই যে উই হ্যাভ সোল্ড আওয়ার সেলফ টু দিস। কেন কেন? কারণ কোথাও আমার মনের মধ্যেই আইডিয়াটা ছিল, আচ্ছা আমি এই ক্লাবটার মধ্যে ঢুকে পড়লে আমারও তো একটা কমিটি হতে পারে, আমি তো এই প্যানেলটার মধ্যে ঢুকে পড়লে আমারও তো একটা মেডিকেল কাউন্সিল হতে পারে। হ্যাঁ, এবং এইটা তাহলে এই যে টুডেজ ইয়াংস্টার্স, they have shattered this vicious cycle. তাদের মধ্যে তো অনেস্টিটা ছিল। আমার জেনারেশনের মধ্যে কি, আমার 2 জেনারেশনের পরেও তো এই অনেস্টিটা ছিল না। সবাই খুঁজছে, কোথাও 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 এক বাটি পোলাও পড়ে রয়েছে, আমি একটু চাটনিটা চেখে বেরিয়ে আসি। হ্যাঁ, তোমার সাথে কথাটা বলতে চাই না, এই ধান্দাবাজি আর চামচাবাজি করে করে আজকে 3টে জেনারেশন নিজেদের বিক্রি করে দিল। এবং এই যে দে হ্যাভ কিকড আস ইন দেয়ার টিথ, এই যে ছেলে মেয়েগুলো শুধু আজকে গভর্নমেন্টের সঙ্গে লড়ছে না, তারা আমাদের ওই যে বলে না, বাইবেলে বলে পেইং ফর দ্য সিনস অফ দেয়ার ফাদার্স। জেফ্রি আর্চার বলেছিলেন যখন কেন অ্যান্ড এবল গল্পটা লিখেছিল, যে দে আর পেইং ফর দ্য সিনস অফ দেয়ার ফাদার্স। ওরা আমাদের পাপের প্রায়শ্চিত্তগুলো আজ করছে।
My last question to you, I know you're overcome with introspection and emotion, as is so common whenever you speak, not just the audience, but তুমি নিজেও খুব মানে আবেগপূর্ণ হয়ে কথাগুলো বলো অলওয়েজ, এটা আমি দেখেছি। I've been honored to have shared screen time with you on many occasion and stage time with you on many occasion. What is your message? আজকে তো young doctorsরা স্বাস্থ্য ভবন, as they say, they're storming the bastion of healthcare in the state. You were just on a call where you are making sort of an appeal that, come, let's sit across the table, let's have a one-on-one, as they say, let's, table issue, come to the table, as they say in the corporate world. What do you want to say to the young doctors? I mean, that statement that you made, and Cain and Abel happens to be one of our favorite books, I think, for our generation of the 90s growing up. You're paying for the sins of your fathers. I think that statement will resonate and echo with everybody who's going to watch the show, share the show, subscribe to the channel, to hear people like you speak. What would you say to these young doctors? Jara ajke, probably ekhuni, in a few hours, they start again a long walk home.
আমরা যদি এখন যে যার মতো, যে আমার মনে কত দুঃখ, আমার মনে কত ক্ষোভ, if we suddenly try to go for a detailed stock taking of our huge accumulations of grievances, our faults, our blunders, confrontation, this confrontational, based on a milligram by milligram analysis of respective faults, will really not lead our society anywhere. The center of the disturbance, the epicenter of the earthquake is the medical community. And we and our youngsters realize that how much of an impact this is having. So I really think that we have to come to a meaningful dialogue. We cannot really be vicious at one another with problems today. We have to reconcile. The head of the administration, the chief minister, the health department will have to acknowledge that there were deficiencies. Now, whether it was willful, whether it was nepotistic, whether it was devious, that is water under the bridge. কিন্তু তাদের correctives গুলো, what do the people of today want? What do the youngsters want? I want my college to be a college. I want my hospital to be a hospital. I do not want a college or a hospital which has doctors masquerading as gundas or gundas masquerading as doctors. Please create that normal environment where normal doctors, junior, senior, boys and girls would live, problems would happen, they will be that they will be addressed, correctives will be in place. So my request to the health administration is যে আমরা যদি এখন we start regurgitating, আপনি এই বছর এই করেছিলেন, এই লোকটাকে এখানে নিয়ে এসেছিলেন, এই ওখানে করেছিলেন, all that, that Bible is there with us. Yes, let us, attitude and intent today is the foremost criteria. In what is our intent? Intent is to resume normality. Assume intent, আমাদের লক্ষ্যটা কি? আমাদের লক্ষ্য হচ্ছে জুনিয়রদের আমরা আশ্বস্ত করি, তাদের সামনে আমরা কিছু রাখি যে হ্যাঁ আমরা তোমাদের কাজ করার জন্য, দেখো পিউ, সিআইএসএফ দিয়ে তুমি আজকে সিকিউরিটি করতে পারো, তুমি বুঝতে পারছো যে জিনিসটা কোথায় গেছে। আমি এখন এর মধ্যে গেলাম না, এবার সিআইএসএফ আসার পর নাকি 3-4 সেট হোস্টেলের ঘর ভাঙা হয়েছে। সিআইএসএফ জানে না কার কাছে সে রিপোর্ট করছে। এই ব্যাপারগুলো কি? দিজ আর পুটিং সেলোটেপস অন স্ট্যাব উন্ডস। সো দ্য হেলথ ডিপার্টমেন্ট উইল হ্যাভ টু কাম উইথ অ্যান অ্যাটিটিউড, উইথ ম্যাগনানিমিটি। তাদের একটা উদার্য দেখাতে হবে, তাদের একটা অ্যাকসেপ্টেন্স দেখাতে হবে যে হ্যাঁ সমস্যা ছিল, এবার আমরা দুজনে মিলে ঠিক করি কিভাবে একটা হাসপাতালের মতো, একটা কলেজের মতো চলবে, এবং রেসপেক্টিং যে হ্যাঁ তারা কিছু জিনিস দেখেও দেখেননি, কে কেন দেখেনি, কে কার বন্ধু বান্ধব আত্মীয়, দ্যাট ইজ ইন দ্য পাস্ট। স্ট্রাকচারটাকে র্যাশনালাইজ করো, রেসপন্সিবিলিটি এবং অ্যাকাউন্টেবিলিটিটাকে প্রমোট করো। আমার প্রশ্ন হলে আমি প্রিন্সিপালের কাছে যাব, আমি হেলথ সেক্রেটারির কাছে যাব, আমি ডিরেক্টর অফ হেলথ সার্ভিসেসের কাছে যাব, আমি রাত্রির বেলা হামাগুড়ি দিয়ে কোনো পার্টি অফিসে কোন আধা মস্তান, আধা গুন্ডা, আধা কালোবাজারি লোকের কাছে গিয়ে আমি সন্ধ্যেবেলা কথা বলবো না। আমরা ডাক্তার। সুতরাং সেই সিম্পল স্ট্রেট ফরওয়ার্ড সিস্টেমটা আনো। দ্য মোর সিম্পলার ইউ আর, দ্য মোর স্ট্রেট ফরওয়ার্ড ইউ আর, মোর উইল বি দ্য কনফিডেন্স ইন দ্য সিস্টেম। আর সবাই যে বসে বসে আমরা কতটা ধূর্ত, আমরা খালি জিলিপির প্যাঁচ আঁকছি। একটা মেয়ে মারা গেল, আমি সঙ্গে সঙ্গে একটা 10 কমান্ডমেন্টস বার করলাম, মেয়েরা রাত্রির বেলা কাজ করবে না। এটা কি আর কি হচ্ছে? ঠাট্টা হচ্ছে। তো আবার বলবো যে আমরা আজকে আমাদের চোখের সামনে রাখতে হবে এন্ড পয়েন্টটা কি, অ্যাটিটিউডটা কি। আজকে সংসারে ঝগড়াঝাটি হলে প্রথম পাটা কে নেয়? হ্যাজ দেয়ার এভার বিন, তুমি কোনো ফ্যামিলিতে কোনো ঝগড়া দেখেছো যেখানে বাবা মা ছেলে মেয়েদের সঙ্গে ঝগড়া করে হ্যাভ দে এভার ওয়ান? Has it ever happened? It does not. সুতরাং somebody has to take a step forward. এটা এটা হাই সুপ্রিম কোর্টের কাজ নয়, বিশেষ করে এই বর্তমান চিফ জাস্টিসের কর্ম কোনো মতেই নয় এটা। It has to come from the guardian of our state and our own society, and let's start now.
I think these are powerful words. Let's start now. These are, very, very important sentiments that, Kunalda has echoed as always. Kunalda, I can't begin to express my gratitude to you for taking out this amount of time on a day and during a period in history where your fraternity, your hospital, where you yourself are, in such a doldrum with such paucity of time. Thank you to my viewers who've encouraged me to put up special episodes, my team who've supported me on this. And if you like the podcast, do subscribe to the channel. I promise you that till the time I'm around, I will bring you content that is not just sensational, but it makes you think, it makes you feel, and most importantly, drives change, which is the motto of this show. Kunalda, once again, thank you. Let the good fight win. Let justice prevail, though our definitions of justice are so different. Let normalcy come to work. Let our young doctors not lose hope in the system, and let them know that we stand with them in solidarity.
We do.
On that note, thank you so much for watching, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.